Hey everyone, Tony Chips here from Chiappetta Shoes. This is Workshop Live on a beautiful Thursday morning. We have an A1 foot type, rigid forefoot, rigid rear foot. It's a bony foot. She's seen a few years in action. We have a new orthotic that we're working with, and we're doing a 2-week checkup today. She's had orthotics from us before, and it's been a while. So we tried something with a little bit more cushioning. You look at the arch of this foot type, and this is an older A1 foot type. There's a lot of rigidity in the system, but you look at the arch contour of what we have here, and there's not a lot of arch in the mold itself, in the impression that we took. So with A1 foot type that has pronated over the years, kind of compensated by flattening out a little bit more, we've had a fair amount of toe and metatarsal issues. With the new setup, we went with what I would consider a softer core setup. Still with our custom orthotics, 4-layer minimum. We have an EVA top cover. We went with an EcoCell Pulse material. That's working as a great shock absorber material as a second layer. Not good on top, but really good as a second layer from a cushioning standpoint. EVA FM, strong support, and then a cork base to it. Now, first 2 weeks, initial impression, left is feeling great. Right needs a little extra loving. Toes are cramping up a little bit, and a little extra pressure on the 5th metatarsal base. So we're going to go with a little extra modification and process. Let me take your top down. With this setup that we got here, we are going to pad up the forefoot, left and right, equally the same, with a little extra standard pour-on, professional pour-on, and that material is one of my most common materials. This pour-on here, we're going with 16th inch sport pour-on, and this material is usually my go-to second layer. Occasionally we'll switch things up if we're looking for a little extra bouncy cushion. So that's the first step that we're going to do. We're going to add a little here. Now, because we have on the right side a little extra pressure on that 5th metatarsal base, we're going to add a cuboid bar. And with the cuboid bar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an 1/8 inch. And because this is a foot that's seen a few miles, A1 foot type, we are going to go with 1/8 inch 55 durometer EVA. 55 durometer is a little bit firmer overall, but it's still an EVA, so it's going to kind of conform really nicely without feeling too hard. All right, so that's step number 2 on the right side. Left side, we're just going to do with a little extra cushioning. Left side generally feels pretty happy. When we do modifications, the one side versus right side, unilateral versus bilateral modifications, we always want to keep in mind overall thickness. When we're doing modifications, we want to make sure that, if we're adding something, it's not going to throw the body off posturally, and make sure that we keep a good amount of balance between the left and the right. And a lot of times we see feet that have 2 different foot types. That's relatively common, especially after knee or hip replacement, which a lot of times requires different modifications. But we still want to keep in mind, uniformity is generally a good idea when we're dealing with the feet. So we're going to get this. This is our step number 1. Step number 2, just for the right side, is going to be an extra metatarsal pad. And we're going to double up what we currently have. We started, again, this is a 2-week checkup, we started with a standard metatarsal pad, and the piece itself is a 55 durometer cushion cork and rubber combination. We're going to add one more layer to that, same thickness, 1/8 inch, but we're going to go with same 55 durometer EVA material as what we're doing for the cuboid bar. And again, when you're making modifications, you always want to keep in mind the levels of hardness and how that's going to translate up into the foot. It's a very important process, because if you make it too soft, it's not really going to do its job. If you make it too firm, we might feel it a little bit too much. So that's not a good thing either. All right. Got that. We're not going to glue that because we're going to put the pour on first. So we got a two-stepper here. Yeah, all right. So again, A1 foot type, large forefoot valgus, large rear foot varus. Got a lot of rigidity in the system. All these midfoot bones are jammed up against each other. They're real hard and rigid. When we're taking a step, boom, boom. A lot of heavy weight coming down on the foot, not necessarily talking about the weight of the body, but the rest of the body, the mechanics. Foot does not have shock absorption. When we're doing modifications, materials, adding on, we always want to make sure that we're keeping the left and right balanced off as best as possible. Sometimes we do unilateral modifications like what we're doing here. When you're doing a modification, this is the fun part. We've got tons of materials we can play with, and you always want to consider, okay, what is the severity of the pain? What is the general activity level that's going to be used on top of it? If I have somebody working at Amazon, I'm going to have to think about durability. But when we increase durability, use firmer materials, you're going to feel it more. So you always want to make sure you have that good blend. A lot of places, when they make custom orthotics, they'll do modifications right on top of the orthotic. Generally speaking, we don't like that because you're going to feel it very quickly. Occasionally when we need to, modifications on the top of the orthotic are going to be impacting the foot and the body very quickly. We like doing modifications from underneath. There's more ability to contact the foot where we need to without feeling like there's an extra piece on the inside. We always want to make sure that what we're doing is just an ancillary part of your everyday. Comfort is not having feeling at all. So we're going to take you back in a sec. We'll be right back. Let the glue dry in 2 seconds. Hey, Tony Chiappetta back again. Just want to follow you guys up. So we have an A1 foot type, a lot of rigidity, 2-week checkup on the orthotics. We're doing some modifications. Left is in good shape, right needs a little extra loving. We're going to take the top down in a sec. We're working with the New Balance 1540. This thing is a beast. It works really well for lots of different types of feet. Very wide last, similar to the Brooks Ariel, a little bit softer, a little bit deeper. It's a traditional extra depth shoe, comes with 2 layers of inserts, works great for hammer toes or bunions. Really happy with this bad boy here. Now, on the orthotic, we're going to take it top down. Left side, we're just doing a modification with a little extra cushioning on the forefoot. We're doing this to match up on the right side. Left side, generally speaking, is pretty happy. A1 foot type, a lot of supination, a lot of rigidity. And when you're doing modifications, you always want to consider keeping the body balanced and uniform as possible. All right, so we got that. Now, with the right side, the foot is being not pushed to the outside, but she just needs a little extra help on the outside there. We have a metatarsal pad that we started with, and then today we're going to add a cuboid bar as well as a little forefoot padding and a little extra metatarsal pad. That's going to be our second step. Now, cuboid bars are typically always really successful. In a case like this, we have a good starting point with the arch shape, but when this foot presented itself, it's an older A1 foot type that has fallen a bit. Now, she's still an A1 foot type. There's a lot of rigidity in the system when she's taking a step, but the arch has fallen a fair amount. So I don't want to overly supinate her and put more scaphoid padding. My additional follow-up that we might have to do down the road is an extra longitudinal arch bar. I'm going to take you over to the grinder real quick. Okay, so right side we have set up. Now we're going to double up this met pad with a little extra 55 durometer microcell puff EVA. This is glued. She's ready to go, but we got to let this glue sit a little bit more. And left side is happy. So a little extra forefoot padding. The shoe has plenty of depth to it too. So she was complaining there was a little extra kind of pinching on the toes. There's no seam, it's soft. I don't think that's going to be a factor in this. I think the metatarsal padding with an A1 foot type, there's a lot of gripping heaviness to it. The mechanics here are going to be improved by adding a little extra metatarsal pad in addition to what we already have. So we're going to be at a 1/4 inch right behind the second, third, and fourth knuckles of the feet. So that's going to be our solution. Hopefully this works out really well. We're going to let this glue dry for a second. We'll be back in another minute. Thank you. Last piece is going down. Let's heat this bad boy up. EVA is heat moldable. We want to give it a good blast. And we are almost finished up with this lovely project. If you look at the cuboid bar, I like to typically have it at an angle. That's, usually following the same area. If you look where it's at, kind of always, we like to do modifications in as beautiful of a means as possible, just from a shape standpoint, as well as anatomically correct. All right, let's take you top down, or take you over to the grinder. Beautiful. That is a wrap. We got A1 foot type, little extra loving on that right side, 2-week checkup. Chiappetta shoes makes the absolute best in custom orthotics. Ain't no better than Chiappetta. If you have any problems, make sure to check us out, chiappettashoes.com/appointments. Have a great day. Ciao.